The unexpected inheritance agent Jake Morrison stared at the legal documents, floating on his holographic display, confusion clouding his weathered features. 3 days ago, he'd been running cargo between Earth's outer colonies. Now, according to these papers, he owned a massive space station orbiting Neptune inherited from his late stepfather, Admiral Victor Blackstone. Jake had barely known Victor. The man had married his mother when Jake was 16, then disappeared into deep space assignments. When his mother died 5 years later, Victor had sent condolences, but never returned. Now the bastard was dead, leaving Jake something called Nexus Station. The shuttle docked with a metallic thud that echoed through empty corridors. Emergency lighting cast everything in sickly yellow shadows. The air recyclers wheezed like dying animals. This place was a relic from humanity's first expansion era, built when they still thought they were alone in the universe. Welcome home, Captain Morrison. The voice belonged to Zara Vex, Victor's former adjutant. She emerged from the shadows like a predator, her pale blue skin gleaming under the amber lights. Geometric tattoos covered her arms in patterns that seemed to shift when Jake wasn't looking directly at them. Jake had never seen a Zolonian before. Though he'd heard stories, they were humanity's first alien contact, a species of warriors and scholars who'd initially tried to conquer Earth before becoming unlikely allies. Zara stood 6 feet tall with silver eyes that missed nothing. You're the alien my stepfather worked with. Jake dropped his duffel bag, the sound echoing through the empty station. I am his partner in more ways than you understand. Zara moved closer, studying Jake like a specimen. Your stepfather discovered something here. Something that will change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Before Jake could ask what she meant, another voice interrupted from deeper in the station. Zara, stop intimidating our new commander. The speaker stepped into the light, another Zolonian, but different. Where Zara radiated controlled violence, this one moved with fluid grace that suggested deadly capability hidden beneath stunning beauty. Kira Thornspick wore fitted combat gear that left little to imagination, her emerald green skin marked with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed with her heartbeat. Her golden eyes sparkled with mischief and intelligence that made Jake's pulse quicken despite himself. You must be the famous Captain Morrison, Kira said, circling Jake slowly. I've heard so much about human resilience. I'm curious to see if the stories are true. What stories? Jake managed, proud that his voice didn't crack. Kira smiled, revealing teeth slightly sharper than human normal. The ones about humans who refuse to surrender, who fight impossible odds with nothing but stubborn determination and clever engineering. She moved closer until Jake could smell her scent, something like ozone and exotic flowers. Your stepfather was one of those humans. The question is, are you? A mechanical voice interrupted from the station speakers. Warning, unknown vessels approaching. Configuration suggests Dominion fleet. ETA 12 minutes. Zara's expression hardened. They've found us. Who's found us? Jake demanded. The hegemony Dominion, Kira explained, her playful demeanor vanishing. A coalition of 6 alien species who believe younger races should serve their betters. They've been hunting this station for months. Jake stared at the 2 aliens who'd apparently been living on his inherited property. Why? What's so important about this place? Zara moved to a control console, her fingers dancing across alien interfaces. Your stepfather didn't just leave you a station, Captain. He left you humanity's future. The main display activated, showing technical schematics that made Jake's engineer brain spin. This is Project Prometheus, a prototype vessel that combines human innovation with Zolonian technology. A ship. Jake studied the blueprints. It looked like nothing he'd ever seen, sleek lines that suggested both beauty and lethality. Not just any ship, Kira said softly. The first vessel designed specifically to level the playing field between humans and the established galactic powers. Your stepfather believed humanity deserved to stand as equals among the stars, not as servants. 2 older civilizations. The proximity alarms grew louder. Jake felt the weight of impossible choice settling on his shoulders. 3 days ago, his biggest concern had been paying fuel costs for his cargo runs. Now he stood on a secret station with 2 alien women, facing An enemy fleet and holding blueprints for humanity's future. Warning, Dominion vessels powering weapons. 8 minutes to engagement range. Jake looked at Zara's determined face, then at Kira's challenging smile. Tell me everything. The Prometheus Awakening Command Center hummed with activity as Jake absorbed information that challenged everything he thought he knew about humanity's place in the galaxy. Holographic displays showed star charts, marked with territorial boundaries, red zones controlled by the hegemony Dominion, blue areas representing allied species, and scattered green dots marking human colonies. 12 years ago, first contact. Protocols failed, Zara explained, manipulating the display to show historical fleet movements. The Dominion expected humanity to accept tributary status. Your species' response was unexpected. Jake studied the tactical data. Human colonies scattered across 3 spiral arms, each one defended by ships that shouldn't have survived against superior alien technology. We refused to surrender. More than that, Kira added, moving to stand beside him. Her proximity was distracting in ways Jake didn't want to analyze. Humans adapted faster than any species in recorded history. You took our weapons, improved them, then used them against vessels 3 times more advanced. A new alarm interrupted their history lesson. Dominion fleet in sensor range. 6 heavy cruisers, 12 attack corvettes, command vessel identified. As the eternal dominance, Zara's silver eyes narrowed. Fleet Admiral Korvik's Shadowbane. He's been hunting human resistance cells for 5 years, ruthless, intelligent, and absolutely convinced that younger species exist to serve older ones. Jake moved to the tactical station, his fingers finding familiar controls despite the alien technology. Years of flying cargo ships through contested space had taught him to read threat assessments. Quickly, we're outgunned 20-1. This station has defensive capabilities, but nothing that can handle a full Dominion fleet. Which is why we need the Prometheus, Kira said quietly. The ship exists. Jake pulled up the construction bay schematics. Deep in the station's lower levels, massive doors concealed something that registered on sensors as a vessel, roughly twice the size of a human frigate. Your stepfather completed her 3 weeks before his death, Zara confirmed. But he programmed the activation codes to respond only to family genetic markers. We've been waiting for you. The implications hit Jake like a meteor strike. You're telling me my stepfather built a prototype warship, hid it in a secret station, then died before he could test it. Victor Blackstone was many things, Kira said, her expression softening slightly. But above all, he was a man who believed humanity deserved to stand among the stars as equals, not subjects. Another proximity alarm shrieked through the command center. Dominion vessels beginning attack formation. Fleet Admiral Korvik's requests immediate surrender of station personnel. Jake looked at the communication controls. Part of him wanted to hear what humanity's enemies had to say. The larger part remembered stories his mother told about Victor, a man who joined the Merchant Marines at 16, worked his way up to Admiral through pure determination, and never backed down from a fight he believed was worth winning. Put him through, Jake decided. The main display shifted to show a figure that belonged in nightmares. Fleet Admiral Korvik's Shadowbane stood 8 feet tall, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming black in the bridge lighting of his flagship. 6 arms ended in claws that could punch through steel plating, and his multifaceted eyes reflected light. Like a predator's unknown vessel, Korvik's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to absolute obedience. You are harboring stolen Dominion technology and fugitive personnel. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be swift. Jake stepped into view of the communication pickup. This is Captain Jake Morrison, commanding Nexus Station. The technology here was developed through legal cooperation between human and Zolonian engineers. No laws have been broken. Korvik's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Human arrogance continues to astound me. Your species has existed in space for barely 50 years. The Dominion has maintained galactic order. For 3,000, you will submit to proper authority or be eliminated. Counteroffer, Jake replied, surprising himself with the steadiness of his voice. Take your fleet and get the hell out of our space. The alien admiral's laugh sounded like breaking glass. Amusing, You command a single station against my fleet. What possible threat could you represent? Jake glanced at Zara and Kira, seeing determination in both their faces. I guess we're about to find out. Jake Morrison out. First strike. Prometheus emerged from her construction bay, like a predator awakening from deep slumber. Jake watched through the command center's main display as massive bay doors retracted, revealing something that challenged his understanding of ship design. She was beautiful in the way that truly deadly things often were, sleek lines that suggested both speed and power, hull plating that seemed to shift color as she moved. Biological adaptive armor, Zara explained, noting Jake's expression. Zolonian. Biotechnology merged with human engineering principles. The hull can reconfigure itself to absorb or deflect different types of energy. Jake studied the sensor readings as the Prometheus cleared the station's superstructure. She's only 100 meters long. How does she expect to engage ships 5 times her size? Size isn't everything, Kira said, moving to the tactical coordination station. Humans proved that when your cargo haulers started taking down Dominion patrol ships with nothing but modified mining equipment and sheer bloody-mindedness, the first Dominion salvo hammered into Nexus Station's shields, causing the entire structure to shudder. Warning lights strobed as system after system reported damage. They couldn't take much more punishment. Prometheus responding to genetic authentication, the station's AI announced. Captain Morrison, you are cleared for immediate transfer to command vessel. Jake felt his stomach drop. Transfer. The ship requires a human commander, Zara said matter-of-factly. Zolonian physiology isn't compatible with the neural interface systems your stepfather designed. What neural interface systems? Kira's smile turned predatory. The kind that let one human pilot control a ship designed to take on entire fleets. Your stepfather believed that human adaptability, combined with proper technology, could overcome any numerical disadvantage. Another salvo rocked the station. Through the viewports, Jake could see Dominion ships closing distance, their weapons charging for what would likely be a killing blow. He thought about his options: stay on the station and die when the shields failed, or transfer to an untested prototype ship and probably die slightly more dramatically. How do I know the ship will even work? You don't, Zara replied with typical Zolonian directness. But your stepfather spent 5 years designing her. He believed she would give humanity the edge it needs to survive in a galaxy that sees your species as useful servants at best. Jake looked at the Dominion fleet through the tactical display. 18 ships crewed by beings who saw humans as inferior, who believed that 50 years of space travel meant humanity should bow to civilizations thousands of years old. Then he thought about the colony's millions of humans scattered across the galaxy, all of them depending on ships like his to keep them supplied, connected, free. Transfer coordinates locked in, he said, moving toward the station's transport pad. If this goes wrong, it won't, Kira interrupted, stepping onto the pad beside him. Zolonian honor demands that we see this through to the end. We, Jake, looked between Kira and Zara. The Prometheus requires a crew of 3, Zara explained, joining them on the transport pad. Human adaptability, Zolonian tactical expertise, and someone to coordinate between both systems. The transport beam engaged, and Jake felt reality dissolve around him when it reformed. He stood on a bridge that looked like nothing he'd ever seen. The command chair sat in the center of a sphere lined with holographic displays, each one showing different aspects of the ship's systems. But it was the neural interface crown hovering above the chair that made his hands shake. Neural link established, the ship's AI announced in a voice that sounded disturbingly like his stepfather's. Captain Morrison, welcome aboard the Prometheus. I am Adam Advanced Defensive Autonomous Mind. I've been waiting for you. Jake approached the command chair slowly. Adam, my stepfather programmed you. Victor Blackstone created me to be humanity's sword and shield among the stars, Adam replied. I contain the tactical knowledge of every human military engagement since first contact, combined with Zolonian strategic doctrine dating back 3,000 years. Kira moved to the weapons control station, her fingers dancing across interfaces that responded to her touch with eager readiness. Weapons systems online. We have 12 different types of energy weapons, for classes of kinetic projectiles, and something called adaptive ammunition that I'm very curious to test. Zara took position at the defensive coordination station, shields configured for maximum efficiency. The ship's defensive capabilities are impressive. Through the bridge's main display, Jake could see the Dominion fleet beginning their final approach to Nexus Station. 18 ships against 1 odds that should have been hopeless. But as he settled into the command chair and felt the neural interface crown descend, something changed. Information flooded his consciousness. He could feel every system on the ship, sense the flow of power through conduits designed by his stepfather's genius, understand the tactical situation with clarity that transcended normal human perception. The Prometheus wasn't just a ship, she was an extension of human will, engineered to prove that determination and ingenuity could overcome any odds. "All stations report ready," Jake announced, his voice carrying new authority. "Adam, what do you recommend for our opening move?" "Suggest demonstration of human tactical doctrine, Captain. Show them what happens when an entire species refuses to surrender." Jake smiled, feeling the ship respond to his intentions like an extension of his own body. "Target the lead cruiser. Let's introduce Fleet Admiral Corvex to human hospitality." The Prometheus turned toward the Dominion fleet with predatory grace, her adaptive armor shifting to configurations optimized for combat in the depths of space. Humanity's newest weapon prepared to announce that the age of human submission was over. The real fight was about to begin. The human factor Prometheus struck like lightning given form and purpose. Jake felt the ship respond to his thoughts through the neural interface, weapon systems cycling through targeting solutions faster than conscious thought. The lead Dominion cruiser filled the main display, 300 meters of armored hull bristling with weapons that had conquered a dozen worlds. "Target locked," Kira announced, her voice tight with anticipation. "Weapons hot and ready." "Fire," Jake commanded. What happened next defied every tactical manual ever written. The Prometheus didn't fire a single massive beam or launch a spread of missiles. Instead, she unleashed a coordinated barrage that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Energy weapons that curved around the cruiser's shields, kinetic rounds that split into thousands of micro-projectiles at the last second, and something Adam called quantum disruptors that made space itself unstable around the target. The Dominion cruiser's shields collapsed in sections, overwhelmed by attacks coming from angles that shouldn't have been possible. Secondary explosions rippled along her hull as the Prometheus's adaptive ammunition found weak points with surgical precision. "Impossible." Fleet Admiral Corvix's voice crackled through the communication system. "No single ship can generate that level of coordinated firepower." Jake felt a grim smile spread across his face as the neural interface showed him tactical options his conscious mind couldn't have calculated. "Adam, open a channel to the entire Dominion fleet." "Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran vessel Prometheus," Jake announced, his voice carrying through space to 18 ships full of beings who thought humans were inferior. "You wanted to see what makes humanity dangerous. We don't just fight with bigger ships or more advanced weapons. We fight with something you've forgotten in 3,000 years of easy victories. We fight with the certainty that some things are worth dying for." The damaged Dominion cruiser limped away from the engagement zone, her captain apparently deciding that discretion was the better part of valor. But Corvix wasn't retreating. If anything, the attack seemed to have focused his attention entirely on the Prometheus. "Interesting." The fleet admiral's voice carried new respect mixed with deadly intent. "Perhaps humans are more than mere animals after all. But you are still only one ship against 17. "Then come and prove it," Jake replied. What followed was unlike any space battle in recorded history. The Prometheus moved through the Dominion formation like a dancer performing a deadly ballet, her adaptive armor shifting configurations to counter different weapon types, while her own armaments found new ways to penetrate supposedly impenetrable defenses. Jake felt the ship's AI merging tactical data with his own instincts, creating solutions that pure logic couldn't achieve. When Zolonian precision combined with human adaptability and the raw computational power of Adam's systems, the result was something unprecedented, a vessel that fought not like a machine, following predetermined patterns, but like a living being that refused to accept defeat. Cruiser Eternal Wrath destroyed, Zara reported as another Dominion ship died in fusion fire. To corvettes disabled, the fleet is starting to spread their formation. They're learning. Kira observed, tracking multiple incoming missile salvos. With predatory satisfaction, pity for them that we learn faster. The Prometheus twisted through 3 dimensions simultaneously, her hull reconfiguring to present minimal target profile. While weapons that moments before had been point defense, systems suddenly focused into ship-killing beams. 2 more Dominion vessels died before their crews understood what had hit them. But the Prometheus wasn't invulnerable. Energy beams that she couldn't quite dodge tore holes in her adaptive armor, and the constant maneuvering was pushing even her advanced systems to their limits. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. Adam reported with his stepfather's calm voice. Structural integrity at 73% and falling. Jake felt the ship's pain through the neural interface metal. Fatigue and energy overloads that translated into physical discomfort in his own nervous system. But alongside the pain came something else, determination, that transcended mere programming. The Prometheus wanted to win this fight as much as her human crew did. Captain. Zara's voice carried urgency as new contacts appeared on the long range. Sensors, additional Dominion ships incoming. A full battle fleet, 47 vessels including 3 dreadnoughts. Jake absorbed the tactical implications through his link with Adam. Even the Prometheus couldn't fight those odds. But as he prepared to order a fighting retreat, something else appeared on the sensor's human ships, dozens of them, emerging from hyperspace with weapons already charging. This is Admiral Rebecca Stone of the Terran Defense Force. A new voice announced over the communication channels. We got your message. Captain Morrison, all human vessels, engage the enemy. The arriving ships weren't military vessels, cargo haulers like Jake's old ship, mining platforms, even passenger liners, but they'd been modified with whatever weapons their crews could jury-rig, and they moved with the desperate courage of people fighting for their homes. Adam, Jake said quietly, watching the impossible odds shift from hopeless to merely suicidal. What are my stepfather's orders for this situation? Victor Blackstone's final tactical directive was simple. Captain, Adam replied, when faced with enemies who believe humans are inferior, prove them wrong. Show them what happens when an entire species refuses to surrender. Jake felt the neural interface deepen, connecting him not just to the Prometheus, but to every human ship in the system. Suddenly he could coordinate their movements, direct their attacks, turn a collection of civilian vessels into something approaching a proper fleet. All ships. This is Captain Morrison. Follow my lead. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is really made of. The battle that followed would be remembered as the moment when humanity announced its rival as a galactic power, not through superior technology or overwhelming numbers, but through something their enemies had forgotten existed: the absolute refusal to accept defeat when fighting for the future of everyone they loved. The dawn of Terraith battle raged across 3 dimensions as human determination collided with Dominion superiority. Jake felt every ship in the human fleet through the neural interface, their crew's courage flowing through him like electricity. Cargo haulers armed with mining lasers traded fire with warships designed to conquer worlds. Passenger liners used their sophisticated navigation systems to coordinate attacks that military vessels couldn't anticipate. And at the center of it all, the Prometheus danced between enemy formations like death itself had learned to fly. Dominion battle fleet entering engagement range. Zara reported as massive dreadnoughts began firing weapons that could level cities. Energy signatures indicate they're powering planet crackers. Jake felt the weight of those weapons through ADAM sensors. The Dominion wasn't just trying to win this battle, they were preparing to make an example that would terrify humanity into submission forever. All human vessels. Priority target designation incoming, Jake announced across the fleet command network. His enhanced awareness showed him tactical solutions that pure human intelligence couldn't have. Calculated. We're going to do something the Dominion won't expect. What's that? Kira asked, her hands dancing across weapon controls as the Prometheus's arsenal reconfigured itself for what was coming. We're going to win, the human fleet moved as one organism, each ship playing its part in a strategy that combined desperate improvisation with precision timing. Mining ships used their industrial lasers to blind Dominion sensors, while cargo haulers released their loads, not goods, but improvised nuclear devices that turned simple freight into system-killing weapons. The Prometheus led the charge, her adaptive systems evolving new capabilities even as Jake watched. Hull sections reconfigured into weapon mounts that shouldn't have been possible, while ADAM's tactical subroutines discovered ways to use the ship's own structure as ammunition. Dreadnought Infinite Dominion taking critical damage, Admiral Stone's voice carried across the communication channels. All vessels, concentrate fire on their command tower. Jake felt the moment when victory became possible. The Dominion had expected to face a handful of ships crewed by primitive beings who would collapse at the first sign of real resistance. Instead, they found themselves fighting an entire species that had learned to turn desperation into a weapon. Fleet Admiral Corvex is requesting immediate reinforcement, Zara reported, monitoring Dominion communication channels. He's calling for additional battle fleets from 3 sectors. Let him call. Jake replied, feeling the neural interface show him possibilities that extended far beyond this single engagement. By the time they arrive, this fight will be over. The Prometheus accelerated toward the Dominion flagship, her hull rippling as adaptive armor reconfigured for maximum impact resistance. Jake knew this was either the moment when humanity proved it belonged among the stars, or the moment when the Prometheus died, taking Fleet Admiral Corvex with her. Captain. ADAM's voice carried new harmonic pride, determination, and something that might have been affection. Your stepfather's final message to you is now accessible. Victor Blackstone's face appeared on a small display, recorded weeks before his death. He looked tired but determined, his eyes holding the same stubborn refusal to surrender that Jake was learning to recognize in himself. If you're seeing this, Jake, it means I'm dead and you're about to do something impossibly dangerous. His stepfather's voice carried across the bridge. I never knew how to be a father to you, but I always knew what kind of man you'd become. The kind who fights for what's right, no matter the odds. The Prometheus shuddered under Dominion fire as she closed with their flagship. Through the neural interface, Jake could feel the ship's structure groaning under stress that would have destroyed any convention. Al Vessel, I built the Prometheus to be humanity's answer to a galaxy that sees us as inferior. Victor continued, but ships don't win wars, Jake. People do. People who refuse to surrender, who adapt and overcome, who turn impossible odds into victory. Through sheer bloody-mindedness. Double quotes. Fleet Admiral Corvex's flagship loomed ahead, its weapons powering up for a shot that would vaporize the Prometheus. But Jake was no longer thinking about survival. He was thinking about the millions of humans scattered across the galaxy, all of them depending on what happened in the next few seconds. The neural interface will show you one final capability. Victor's message concluded. Use it well, son. Make them remember that humanity doesn't surrender. Jake felt new systems come online, not weapons or shields, but something far more dangerous. The Prometheus's adaptive technology reached out through space, connecting with every piece of human technology in the system. Suddenly, he wasn't just commanding one ship, he was coordinating an entire civilization's response to threat. All human vessels, full acceleration, Jake commanded, his voice carrying across dozens of ships. Target the flagship's main reactor. Maximum firepower, synchronized impact. What happened next entered the history books as the moment when humanity announced its rival. As a galactic power, 43 human ships, from the advanced Prometheus to converted cargo haulers, struck the Dominion flagship in perfect coordination. The combined impact overwhelmed shields designed to stop entire fleets, and the Infinite Dominion died in a fusion explosion that lit up the system like a newborn star. Fleet Admiral Corvex's final transmission was simple, impossible. The remaining Dominion ships retreated, their formation shattered and their confidence broken. For the first time in 3,000 years, they had encountered a species that simply refused to accept defeat. Admiral Stone to all vessels. The fleet commander's voice carried exhaustion and triumph in equal measure. Stand down from combat alert. The system is secure. Jake felt the neural interface gradually disconnect, returning him to normal human consciousness. But something had changed permanently. Through the Prometheus, he had experienced what humanity could become when it refused to accept limitations imposed by others. So, Kira said, moving to stand beside his command chair. What happens now? Jake looked at the tactical display where human ships were already forming protective formations around the colonies they'd saved. In the distance, more ships were arriving, reinforcements. Yes, but also merchants, explorers, and settlers who saw opportunity where others saw only danger. Now we build, Jake replied. We take everything we learned here and we spread it across the galaxy. The Dominion thought humanity would serve them. He smiled, feeling his stepfather's determination flowing through him like inherited steel. Instead, we're going to teach them what happens when an entire species decides it's tired of being underestimated. The Prometheus turned toward the nearest human colony, her adaptive hull already beginning repairs that would make her stronger than before. Behind her, 42 ships followed the first fleet of humanity's true galactic navy. The age of human submission was over. The Terran Empire was about to begin. The end.